It's time for another Dice Tower review with Zee Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at a small card game called Gutsy. Gutsy here is a game put out by the American Museum of Natural History, and it is meant to be an educational tool, right? Just a way to get out there some of the concepts and ideas that have to do with our gut and the microbes that live in our gut that help us live a healthier life. The trick with these kinds of games is always, a game that has an educational bent to it, is finding that balance between the game indeed being educational and also being a game, being fun. So let's take a look at the game and let's find out if this one happens to strike that balance. The game is made up of a deck of cards, which has in it some microbes, some pathogens. There's going to be 4 event cards that get shuffled into the deck. There are some player guides as well, and then there's a couple of special cards as well. One of each of these, a quarantine card, and then this drug-resistant pathogen. Ooh. So we're going to shuffle all this up, and then each player is going to get 6 cards at the beginning of the game. The events are not technically shuffled in here yet, but I've got them shuffled in, and if anyone draws one, I just have them throw it back in. And then you are ready to begin. The objective of the game is to get a balanced set of microbes in your gut. So you need to have 6 different ones. So 6 different colors, and then you win the game as long as you don't have any pathogens in your tableau as well, in your gut, right? So there are our 6 cards. I'm going to take a look that I don't have an event. That's going to get shuffled back in. And this player is good. And so the first thing we do, you technically really just have a hand of 4 cards, but you're dealt 6 because you are going to play 2 of them face down to begin your gut, to begin your tableau at the beginning of the game, all right? And so like that. There we go. And so these players would reveal their cards. The person who has had a salad most recently is going to be the start player, and then you are ready to begin. So on your turn, as the cheat sheet here tells us, the first thing you do is you do a health check, which means if you have a pathogen in your hand, you have to play it, and then you skip immediately to step 3, that is refill your hand, and that's it, okay? So this hand here, I happen to have a pathogen card, so I would have to play it, and then immediately skip to the draw phase in which I draw a card, and if it's an event, I play it immediately, deal with that event. So that would be it for my turn. And again, what you're trying to do is get different colors out here, different microbes, so that you have all 6 out in front of you and no pathogens. So that's it for my turn. It's my opponent's turn here. They take a look at their hand. They also happen to have a pathogen, a drug-resistant pathogen. And this one's a little bit of a hot potato. It stays on the table, gets passed back and forth. These you can get rid of with antibiotics, and some of the cards have special powers, okay? But let's say my friend here does not have this card. Let's say they instead have this card. So, step 1, health check. Do you have any microbes? They do not, and so they go to step 2. In step 2, they can do one of 3 things. First thing, you can build your gut, which means you can play a card out in front of you and add it to what you're collecting. Step 2 is you can trigger a power on a card. So let's say they already had these in front of them. If you have a card that is a microbe that you have another of in the same color, then you can trigger the power on of the one on the table. Once that's done, get rid of it and replace it with a matching color. Okay? So that's the second step. And then third step is quite simply discard a card and then you'll redraw. And step 3 is redraw no matter which of those things you do. And then step 4, you do the gut check, which is quite simply see if you win the game, if you've got all the cards needed. So my friend over there is going to play this card. They will draw a replacement. They are done. It comes back to me. I should have drawn, right? Yes, forgot to draw. And then I am going to, let's see. I am going to trigger this card here that says remove one pathogen from any one player's gut. Perfect. I'll remove this pathogen, put it in the discard pile. This card is gone, replaced by one of the same color. And then I draw back up. I check that I did not draw an event, and it goes back to the other player who could now do this. And they could play that card and continue adding to what they're collecting. This is going to go back and forth until one player wins. And that's pretty much it. I'm showing you obviously the game only here with 2 players, but you can play with more. The other cards in the game are these event cards. Once they come out, they say play immediately, and you do what they say. This one, for example, says, everyone ate the same spoiled stuff. Each player discards any one card from their gut. So that's good. You could possibly get rid of something you don't want, but of course you could hurt someone else by forcing them to get rid of a card they'd like to keep. And I'm just show you a couple of these. This one here says fast food binge. Unhealthy food leads to a less diverse microbiome. All players with one or more rare microbes in their guts must discard one of them. And that is denoted by the little letter down here that means common or rare. That doesn't normally come into play except for a couple of cards that will mention whether something is a common microbe or a rare microbe. And that's pretty much it. That should give you an idea of how this game operates. Very light, very simple card collection game with a few special powers that you're able to trigger if the situation is right. So let's go back up top. Let me give you some final thoughts. So there you have it. As you can see, the game is really very straightforward. It's a small, simple to pick up and understand game, and I think that's great for this kind of game. It's the kind of game that's going to be available to people that are not hobby gamers, and you want it to have a nice, easy level of entry. So that's great. Gameplay is rummy-esque. There's a little bit of set collection going on in it, and some actions that lead to a little bit of take that. But it's kept in check, and I like that about it too. The game is not just a take that game, which I would not like nearly as much. You are trying to take care of what you're doing first, and if along the way you happen to stick someone with a card they don't want, or move something away from you and give it to someone else that would be hurtful, then that's fine. But you are first and foremost trying to collect the cards you need. Another thing I like is the way that the powers are handled in the game. You cannot just play a card for a power. You have to play the card and then be able to substitute that card with another card to trigger the power. And so they are not going to be happening incessantly, and I like that. I like games that have some special abilities, but they're not triggering so often that everything is changing every other second, and there's just sort of no point. Having so many powers, it's sort of like having no power at all, because people can just undo what you did. So that's interesting. As far as the balance between it being a fun game and it being educational, I think it's there. I think it's interesting. It's not a game that blows me away. It's not a game that I find superb. It's not a game I'm going to put into rotation because, wow, this is so clever and new and interesting. But it is a game that knows what it's trying to do and does that well. And for that, I have to commend it. I think Gutsy is able to bring some interesting information, get some ideas out there if you choose to engage in reading the cards, in talking about what the game's representing. And it is not just a boring educational game. There is gameplay in here. And so for all those reasons, I think this is neat. If it sounds like something you'd want to check out, maybe give it as a gift, then look into it. That has been Gutsy.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.